Cold rain fell from the dark sky, hitting the broken ground like tiny knives. The war had destroyed everything: homes, forests, and families. And in the middle of the ruined valley, an alien mother named Leora stood alone, shaking from cold and heartbreak. Her hands were covered with mud as she dug the wet soil with a small metal shovel. She did not feel the cold. She did not feel the pain. She felt only one thing: the belief that her newborn baby was gone forever. The wind blew her long purple hair across her face, mixing with rain and tears. Her baby had disappeared during the attack last night. Soldiers had broken into their shelter, explosions had shaken the ground, and in the chaos, her newborn had been taken away. In the morning, someone told her they found a small body near the forest line. They said it belonged to a baby. They said the baby was dead. They did not show her the body. They never gave her anything to hold. But the world was cruel now, so cruel that she believed the words without question. She believed her child was gone. So now she dug a grave. Thunder rumbled overhead. Every strike of lightning lit her shaking hands. The soil was heavy and full of stones. But she did not stop. She could not stop. Her heart felt like a rock inside her chest, and every breath hurt. Still, she kept digging deeper and deeper, preparing a resting place for the life she thought she had lost. Far away, in the burning remains of another destroyed village, a human soldier ran through the smoke. His name was Captain Ivan Hall. His armor was cracked, his face was bruised, and blood dripped from a cut on his forehead. But in his arms he carried something small and wrapped in a half-burned blanket: a baby. A baby who was crying softly. Weak but still alive. Evan had found the child among broken walls and dead bodies. He had heard a faint cry through the smoke and followed it. When he lifted a fallen piece of metal and saw the tiny alien infant underneath, his training told him to walk away. Humans and aliens were enemies in this war. But his heart refused. He could not abandon a helpless child. "Don't worry, little one," he whispered as he ran. "I won't let anything happen to you." Behind him, enemy soldiers shouted. They had seen him carrying the baby and thought he was stealing it. Evan ran faster, dodging lasers and jumping over ruins. He did not look back. He only held the baby closer. At the same moment, Leora placed a small piece of her baby's clothing into the grave. It was the only thing left from the night before. A little pink cloth with a tiny star embroidered in the corner. She pressed it to her chest and let out a sound that was not even a cry, just a deep, broken breath of loss. The grave was almost ready, but something strange happened. As she lowered her head, a single sound traveled through the storm. A thin, distant cry. A baby's cry. Leora lifted her head sharply. Her heart hit her ribs. She held her breath and listened again. Silence. Only the rain and thunder. She closed her eyes. She told herself it was her imagination. Her mind was tired and grief was playing tricks on her. She forced herself to continue her work. But her hands trembled harder now. That cry. It felt real. Far away, the baby in Evan's arms cried again, louder this time. Evan held the child close and covered it with his jacket as he reached the edge of the burning forest. His pulse was racing. He needed shelter. He needed warmth for the baby. He needed a safe place where no one would find them. But on the other side of the valley, Leora dropped the shovel. Her legs almost gave out. The sound had echoed inside her head again, clearer than before. It was not the wind. It was not the storm. It was a baby's cry. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "No, this cannot be." She looked at the grave she had dug. The grave waiting for her child's body. The grave filled with sadness and hopeless acceptance. And now, somewhere in the distance, she heard something that should not exist anymore. A sign of life. She stepped away from the grave. Her heart beat faster than it had since the attack. Rain poured harder, soaking her clothes, but she didn't care. She listened again. Another cry, and this time, she knew. It was real. Is my child alive? She whispered with trembling lips. Lightning flashed across the valley, exposing a trail of footprints near the forest footprints that belonged to a human. Her eyes widened. Her fear mixed with hope, anger, and confusion. A human? Why would a human be here? Why would a human carry something small? Why would a human run in a storm? The pieces began to join together. Her breath caught in her throat. Her baby might be alive, and her baby might be in the hands of a human right now. She dropped to her knees shaking, but this time not from grief. From the sudden spark of hope. And from the burning need to know the truth. She stood up slowly. Then she began to walk, then to run. The rain washed her tears away as she followed the broken footprints toward the forest. She did not know if she would find the human. She did not know if the baby was truly alive, but she knew one thing. She would not stop until she reached the truth. The burning forest crackled behind Captain Evan Hawley as he ran, holding the alien baby close to his chest. Smoke stung his eyes, but he refused to slow down. The child's small breath brushed against his neck, reminding him why he could not stop. Not now, not ever. He reached a broken stone wall and jumped behind it. Heavy boots pounded somewhere in the trees. Enemy soldiers were searching for him. "Stay quiet, little one," he whispered, but the baby made a soft whimper, weak and scared. Evan touched the infant's forehead. The skin felt warm. Too warm. Alien babies did not handle cold or fire the same way human babies did. If he didn't find shelter soon, the child would not survive. He scanned the area. The rain was helping for once, reducing the flames and smoke. But the forest was still dangerous. The enemy believed he had taken the baby to use it as a weapon or worse. They were hunting him with everything they had. He peeked over the broken wall. No movement. He took a deep breath and started running again, miles away. Leora sprinted across the muddy valley, slipping and stumbling as rain soaked her hair and clothes. She followed the trail of footprints, big, heavy, clearly human. Each step she took filled her stomach with fear and hope together. Every time she thought about the cry she heard, her heart beat faster. Was it truly her child? Or was grief tricking her? She didn't know. All she knew was that the wind carried a scent she recognized, the faint smell of her baby's blanket. She paused for a moment, closing her eyes. Her alien senses opened. She felt something, a warm presence far away. A connection only a mother could feel. Her baby was alive. A loud crack of thunder made her open her eyes. She saw smoke in the distance. Forest fire. And somewhere inside that, she sensed movement. A human carrying something small. Her hands tightened into fists. "I'm coming," she whispered. "I will find you." Back in the forest, Evan reached an old military outpost hidden behind broken trees. It was a small shelter built long ago and now abandoned. The roof was half destroyed, but the walls still stood. It was the safest place he could find. He pushed the rusty door open and stepped inside. The air was cold, but at least there was no fire. He placed the baby gently on a dry cloth he found. The child whimpered again. Evan quickly removed his own jacket and wrapped the baby in it. Then he searched the shelves, old medical boxes, broken radios, empty water cans. All useless. Except for one thing. A small heating pad. It was meant for emergency rations, but heat was heat. Evan activated it and placed it onto the baby. The infant's breathing slowly steadied. "Good. Stay with me," he murmured. He had seen many horrible things in war, but saving a child, alien or human, felt different. It felt right. It felt human. Suddenly, a loud shout echoed outside. Evan grabbed his rifle and moved to the door, keeping the baby behind him. Enemy soldiers were close. Too close. He had to move again. He picked up the baby, but as he turned, his boots slipped on the wet floor. His knee hit the ground with a painful thud. The baby cried out loudly. That cry echoed far across the valley. Lio, Arhe heard it. Her entire body froze. It was real. It was close. It was hers. Her heart almost burst out of her chest as she sprinted toward the forest. Branches cut her skin, mud splashed on her legs, but nothing slowed her down. She followed the sound, followed her instincts, followed the tiny voice she thought she had lost forever. Evan exited the shelter and ran again, holding the baby tight. The rain made it hard to see. Lightning lit the sky, showing large shadows moving between the trees. They were closing in. He ducked behind a fallen log. The baby cried again, louder this time. Evan winced. Please. They'll hear you. The baby only cried harder. Leora heard that cry again. She turned sharply and saw lights moving in the trees. Soldiers searching. She hid behind a thick trunk, watching. Then she saw it, a human running with something in his arms. She couldn't see the face. She couldn't see the child, but she could feel the connection. That is my baby, she whispered. Her sadness turned into fire. Her fear turned into strength. She stepped out of hiding and began following the human silently through the rain. Didn't know she was behind him. He didn't know the mother had begun her hunt. The storm grew louder above the forest as Leora moved with silent steps, her eyes locked on the human figure ahead. The man ran through broken trees, holding a tiny bundle close to his chest. Rain splashed against his armor, making him slip now and then, but he did not stop. His movements were desperate, almost protective. Leora narrowed her eyes. Why would a human protect an alien child? She had grown up hearing stories of humans strong, tactical, dangerous, emotionless in war. They never cared about alien life. Yet this one was running away from soldiers, not toward them. Running like someone who wanted to save, not kill. But she could not trust her thoughts. Not yet. She followed him carefully, staying out of the soldier's sight. Her species had strong night vision. Every flash of lightning gave her a clear view of him. Each time the baby cried, her heart ached and her steps quickened. That is my child. I can feel it. I know it, but she could not attack now. If she startled him, he might drop the baby or run into danger. She needed to be smart. She needed to wait for the right moment. Ahead of her, Captain Evan Hawley stopped at a fallen tree and leaned against it, panting. His strength was fading. He had been running for too long. He pulled the baby closer and whispered, "Just a little more. Stay with me, okay?" Leora's breath caught. That voice. Gentle, soft, worried. It confused her. Humans did not speak like that, not to alien children. She stepped behind another tree and watched. She could see the baby's small hand sticking out of the blanket. A tiny purple tint on the skin, her species' natural color. Her baby alive. Her knees almost gave out. She held onto a branch, shaking with a mix of relief, shock, and fierce love. Tears blurred her vision, mixing with the rain. But before she could reveal herself, loud blasts shook the area. Enemy soldiers were coming fast. Evan looked around wildly. He needed to move again. He lifted the baby and started running toward a rocky hill on the other side of the forest. Leora followed closely, never letting him leave her sight. The ground became uneven as they reached the hill. Jagged stones made it hard to walk. Evan slipped once, but kept going, shielding the baby with his arm. His determination confused her even more. Why did he care? Why carry a child that wasn't even human? Why risk his own life? Her mind raced with questions, but the answers didn't matter now. She only cared about reaching her child. Near the top of the hill, Evan found an opening in the rock, a natural cave. Dark, quiet, deep. A perfect place to hide, at least for a moment. He rushed inside and laid the baby on a piece of cloth. Then he searched for anything that could help: a piece of dry wood, a stone, an old metal container. He tried to start a small fire to warm the baby, but the wood was too wet. He cursed under his breath, hitting the stone again and again. Outside the cave, Leora climbed slowly, her feet slipping on the sharp rocks. When she reached the entrance, she stopped. She pressed her back against the wall, listening. She heard the baby's small cry. She heard the human's tired breathing. She heard his voice, soft and broken. "Please stay alive. Please." Her heart twisted. She had never heard a human beg before. Slowly, she stepped into the entrance. Her shadow fell inside the cave. Evan noticed it instantly. He grabbed his rifle and turned around, placing himself in front of the baby like a shield. For a second, their eyes met. Human and alien, enemy and enemy, but both with the same panic in their eyes, both protecting the baby behind him. Leora's breath trembled as she whispered, "That is my child." Evan didn't lower the gun. "Not yet. How do I know you're not lying?" he asked. Leora took a slow step forward. "Because I can feel my child's heartbeat. Because I heard him cry. Because I gave birth to him with these hands." Her voice cracked, full of pain she had held inside since the night of the attack. Evan felt something shift in his chest. He looked at the baby, then at her, and he finally understood. This was not an enemy trying to trick him. This was a mother who had believed her child was dead. A mother who dug a grave in the rain. A mother who still followed the faint hope of a cry. He lowered the rifle slightly, but not fully, before either of them could speak again. The sound of footsteps echoed outside the cave. Soldiers coming closer. Leora and Evan both turned toward the entrance. For the first time, they stood on the same side of danger. Rainwater dripped from the cave ceiling as Leora and Evan stood frozen in front of each other. Outside, enemy soldiers moved between the trees, their voices sharp and angry. The storm hid some sounds, but not enough. They were close. Too close. Inside the cave, the baby let out a soft cry. Not loud, but enough to remind them that time was slipping away. Evan held his rifle tightly, but something inside him hesitated. He had seen fear before. He had seen hatred, but the look in Leora's eyes was neither. Her eyes carried something deeper. Something only a mother could hold. Still, he could not trust her completely. Leora, on the other hand, felt her heart pounding so loudly that it almost drowned out the storm. Her child, alive, breathing, right behind the human, was only an arm's length away. Every part of her wanted to run forward and grab her baby. But she knew if she made a sudden move, it could end badly. Both remained still. Both breathed carefully. Both listened for the soldiers. A blinding flash of lightning lit the cave. Entrance. Evan made a quick choice. He placed his finger on his lips and whispered, "Quiet." Leora didn't move, but she nodded. Evan stepped slowly backward, keeping himself between her and the baby. He looked at the infant. The baby's skin glowed faintly, an alien trait that always flared stronger in cold weather. Leora whispered, barely audible, "He's cold. He needs warmth." "I know," Evan replied. His voice was not harsh now. "Just tired, human. I tried starting a fire, but the wood, it will not burn when wet," she said softly. Evan looked at her for a moment. She wasn't lying. She wasn't trying to trick him. He turned his head slightly toward her, still keeping space between them. "You know how to keep him warm?" he asked quietly. Leora nodded. "My body heat works faster. Let me hold him." Her voice broke. "Please." Evan hesitated. His soldier's training screamed no, but everything else inside him whispered yes. Before he could decide, footsteps echoed near the entrance. Shadows moved outside the cave. Evan's instincts activated instantly. He signaled Leora to move deeper inside. She understood. She stepped quietly toward the back wall. Evan scooped up the baby and handed the child to her gently. For the first time, their hands touched. A brief, fragile connection. She held her breath as the small body was placed into her arms. The baby calmed almost immediately. It nuzzled into her chest. Leora pressed her cheek to the child's soft head, tears slipping down her face. For a few seconds, she forgot the world. There was only her baby. Only the warmth she had feared she would never feel again. Evan watched her silently. A strange feeling rose inside him, relief. Seeing the baby safe in its mother's arms made the danger feel worth it. But there was no time to pause. A flashlight beam swept across the cave wall. Soldiers were checking the area. Evan crouched low and motioned for Leora to hide behind a large stone structure deeper inside the cave. She moved silently, holding her child close. Evan stayed near the entrance, rifle ready. He heard voices. There were tracks this way. Check inside the cave. Evan's heart raced. If they entered, he and Leora would be trapped like animals. He had to distract them. Draw them away. Anything to keep the baby safe. He turned to Leora and whispered, "If they come inside, run. I'll hold them off." Leora stared at him, shocked. "You will die." "Maybe," he whispered, "but your child won't." That sentence hit her harder than the storm. A human. Ready to die for her baby? Before she could say anything, the sound of boots approached the entrance. Evan stepped into the shadows, rifle raised. A soldier leaned into the cave, shining a light around. "Anything?" Evan held his breath. The soldier stepped inside. Scanning each corner, Evan tightened his grip on the trigger. Then, another soldier called from outside. "Trail continues this way." He must have turned east. The soldier in the cave paused, looked around, groaned in frustration, and then stepped back out. Evan exhaled silently as the soldiers moved away into the forest. Only when their voices faded did he lower his rifle. Leora emerged from behind the stone, still holding her child. Her hands trembled, but not from fear, this time from relief. "You saved us," she whispered. Evan shook his head. "No, I saved him. You just happened to be his mother." She looked at him with confusion. "Why would a human save my child?" Evan rubbed his forehead tiredly. "Because war doesn't matter when a baby is crying in your arms." For the first time, Leora believed him. Their worlds were enemies. But their hearts, just for this moment, stood on the same side. Before she could speak again, Evan stepped closer and said in a low voice, "We can't stay here. They'll come back. If we want your child to live, we need to escape together." The cave felt quieter now, but not safe. The storm outside had softened, yet the danger remained heavy in the air. Leora sat on the cold stone floor, her baby tucked against her chest, wrapped in Evan's jacket. The infant's breathing was calmer now, steady and warm. Leora stroked the baby's tiny cheek with trembling fingers, memorizing every small detail. She had feared she would never see this face again. Evan stood a few steps away, leaning against the cave wall. His armor was scratched, his face bruised, and mud covered half his body. But his eyes stayed alert, watching the entrance and listening for any sound outside. For several long moments, they didn't speak. Then Leora broke the silence. How did you find him?" Evan didn't answer immediately. His gaze shifted to the baby, then to the ground. He let out a slow breath. "It wasn't luck," he said quietly. "It was a massacre." Leora stiffened. The word felt like a blade. Evan continued, voice low and steady. "I was scouting the burned village after the attack. Everything was destroyed. Walls collapsed. Fires everywhere. Bodies on the ground." He paused, swallowing hard. "I thought no one survived." Leora hugged her baby tighter. tears gathering again. But then, Evan said, I heard a small sound. A tiny cry. Almost too weak to notice. He closed his eyes for a moment. I followed it. There was a broken metal beam on the ground. Under it, I found him. Leora covered her mouth, fighting sobs. She imagined her newborn lying under rubble, cold and scared, waiting for help that never came. He was alone? She whispered. Evan shook his head. No, he wasn't alone. He was next to someone. Leora's heart stopped. Who? She asked, voice shaking. Evan hesitated. He didn't know if he should say it. But he wasn't a man who hid the truth. A woman, he said softly. An alien woman. Badly wounded. She used her body to shield him from falling debris. She saved him. He looked at Leora with gentle eyes. I think she was a healer or guard. Leora gasped. She knew who it was. Saren. She whispered. My sister. Her chest tightened. She closed her eyes in pain. Her sister had promised to protect the baby during the chaos. Leora had been separated by falling rubble. She never saw her sister again. Now she knew why. She kept him alive. Leora whispered, voice breaking. She gave her life for him. Evan nodded slowly. Yes, when I lifted the beam, she was already gone. But the baby, he was alive, crying, cold, fighting. Leora bent down, pressing a kiss to her baby's small forehead. Tears rolled down her cheeks, mixing with the rainwater on her skin. Thank you, Saren. She whispered to the air. Evan stepped closer, but kept a respectful distance. There's more, he said. Leora looked up, eyes full of worry. When I picked up the baby, Evan continued, I saw soldiers approaching. Not my men. Not yours. A third group. Leora's breath caught. Who? Rokari hunters. Leora's blood turned cold. The Rokari were not part of either army. They were scavengers-collectors of rare alien life. They stole children, captured injured civilians, and sold them for experiments or profit. They cared about no one. They served no nation. Your baby is special, Evan said quietly. His DNA is rare. Rokari scanners can detect it. They were coming straight toward the ruins. Leora's arms tightened protectively around her baby. Fear clawed through her chest. They wanted my child? She breathed. Yes, Evan replied. They wanted him for experiments. They wanted to use his biology. His voice hardened, disgusted. So I grabbed him and ran. I couldn't let monsters take him. Leora stared at Evan, shock and gratitude swirling inside her. She had expected humans to be cruel. But this man, this soldier, had saved her newborn from something far worse than war. Why? She whispered. Why would you risk your life for a child that is not even human? Evan looked her straight in the eyes. Because he cried, he said simply. Because he needed help. And because no child, human or alien, deserves to die in a war started by adults. Leora's breath trembled. She had never heard such words from a human before. Honesty, compassion, courage. Before she could respond, Evan suddenly lifted his head. He listened carefully. Footsteps, voices, coming fast. They're back, he whispered. They found our trail. Leora stood up instantly, holding her child close. Fear pulsed through her veins. What do we do? She asked. Evan grabbed his weapon, eyes sharp again. We escape, he said. But not separately. He stepped forward, meeting her gaze. We leave together. We protect your baby together. We survive together. Leora looked at him, stunned. A human. Standing with her. A human. Ready to fight for her child, for the first time. She didn't see an enemy. She saw an ally. She nodded slowly. Together, she whispered. Rain hammered the forest outside the cave as Evan and Leora prepared to escape. The baby slept lightly against Leora's chest, small breaths warm against her skin. Evan stood near the entrance, scanning the darkness with sharp eyes. He could hear voices in the distance, Rokari hunters searching the forest like wolves hunting for prey. "We have minutes," Evan whispered. "Then we use them well," Leora replied with quiet determination. Evan glanced at her, still amazed by how quickly she had shifted from broken grief to fierce strength. A mother's power was something even war could not crush. He motioned toward the deeper path. "There's an old tunnel system behind this cave. If we move fast, we may reach the ravine before the hunters do." Leora nodded, placing one protective hand on her baby's head. "Lead the way." Evan stepped into the narrow tunnel first. The walls were cold and slick with rainwater. The ceiling was low enough that he had to crouch. Leora followed behind him, her movements silent, almost graceful despite the uneven ground. The tunnel twisted sharply to the right. A small stream of water rushed along the floor. Their boots splashed softly as they walked. Every sound felt louder in the tight space. "How far does this tunnel go?" Leora whispered. "About half a mile," Evan answered without looking back. "Then it opens near a series of cliffs. If we're lucky, the hunters won't think to search there. And if we're not lucky, then we improvise." Leora almost smiled. This human had a strange sense of calm in chaos. She didn't understand him fully, but she trusted him more than she expected. Halfway through the tunnel, a low rumble echoed above them. Dust and pebbles fell from the ceiling. Leora froze. "What was that?" Evan grimaced. "The storm is weakening the rocks. We need to move faster." He started running. Leora followed, holding her baby tightly so the child wouldn't wake. Her heart pounded as the tunnel shook again. Louder this time, a loud crack split through the darkness. A huge chunk of the ceiling broke and crashed down behind them, blocking the path they had already crossed. Leora gasped. "We're trapped." "No," Evan said quickly. "We're cut off from the hunters." "That's good. But now we have only one direction to go." He turned and pushed forward with renewed urgency. After several tense minutes, they reached the end of the tunnel. A faint light shone from a narrow opening. Evan squeezed through first, then helped Leora step outside. The world beyond the tunnel was different: open sky, wet grass, and a steep cliff that dropped into a deep ravine. Water rushed violently below. Leora looked around anxiously. "Where now?" Evan pointed to the left. "There's an old transport pod not far from here. It's damaged, but if it still has power, we can use it to escape." Before they could move, a sharp sound cut through the rain. Click. A weapon being loaded. Evan spun around instantly, forcing Leora behind him. 3 Rokari hunters stood at the cliff's edge. They wore dark armor, their glowing visors reflecting the stormlight. One of them stepped forward. "Human," the leader growled, voice cold. "Hand over the child." Leora's breath stopped. She gripped her baby tightly, backing away. Evan raised his rifle but kept calm. "No, the baby stays with us." The hunters laughed a deep, metallic sound. "You cannot win against us. You are injured, weak, alone." Evan smirked. "Funny, I don't feel alone." The lead hunter raised his gun. "You think the alien woman will save you?" "No," Evan replied, tilting his head slightly. "I think we'll save each other." Leora stepped forward, eyes blazing. Her species could project a low-frequency sound when threatened, a natural defense. Her throat vibrated, releasing a strange humming pulse that shook the air around them. The hunters staggered for a moment. Surprised, Evan fired. A burst of light shot through the rain, hitting one hunter and sending him tumbling down the cliff. The second hunter dashed forward. Evan rolled aside, firing again. The third hunter charged toward Leora. Leora stepped back, shielding her baby. She let out a piercing cry, a sound only her species could make. The hunter froze, clutching his helmet. Evan turned and fired a precise shot, dropping him instantly. The battle lasted only seconds, but the danger felt enormous. Leora looked at Evan, breathless. "You saved us." Evan shook his head. "We saved each other." Before she could respond, the baby started crying loud, sharp. Frightened, more voices echoed in the distance. The hunters weren't done. Evan pointed toward the far side of the cliffs. "The pod, now!" Leora held her baby close and followed him through the storm. They had survived the first wave, but the real escape had only just begun. Rain poured like silver sheets as Evan and Leora ran across the rocky ground toward the old transport pod. The wind howled, lightning flashed, and behind them the cries of Rakari hunters grew louder. The baby clung to Leora's chest, crying from cold and fear. Evan reached the rusted pod first. It was half buried under vines and covered with moss. One side was dented, the door crooked, and the engine looked ancient. "This thing better wake up," he muttered, yanking the hatch open. The inside smelled like damp metal. Old wiring hung like spiderwebs. But there was still a power unit, still a control panel, still hope. Leora stepped in behind him, clutching the baby. "Can you fix it?" "I can try," Evan replied, kneeling beside the controls. His fingers moved quickly, rerouting wires, connecting loose power cells, tapping old circuits back to life. Sparks flew. A small hum rose from the floor. Leora watched him with wide, hopeful eyes. She didn't understand human machines, but she understood determination. Outside, footsteps grew louder. Voices, weapons being armed. "They're close," she whispered. Evan didn't look up. "Just keep the baby warm. Give me 30 more seconds." The pod's lights flickered. A dull mechanical heartbeat started. The engine coughed like an old animal waking from sleep. Then a roar of energy filled the pod. It was alive. Evan stood up. "Get in the seat. Hold on tight." Leora slipped into the passenger seat, wrapping her baby safely. Her heart raced as she heard the hunters approaching fast. Evan slammed the hatch shut and strapped himself in. "If they shoot at us, don't panic." "I will not," Leora said, voice steady but eyes shining. "My child is with me." Evan hit the ignition. The pod shuddered violently. The ground trembled beneath them. The engine sputtered again. Then, a blast of laser fire hit the side of the pod. The baby screamed. Leora cried out, "Evan!" Evan gritted his teeth and punched the control panel. The engine roared louder. Another blast hit. Metal cracked. A third blast, and then the pod launched upward with a powerful surge, shooting into the stormy sky. Rain blurred the windows as they rose above the trees. The hunters fired wildly, but the pod climbed too fast. Leora held her baby tight, whispering soft words to calm him. Evan stared ahead, fighting the shaking controls. After several long minutes, the pod stabilized in the clouds. Silence at last. Only the soft hum of the engine, and the baby's tired breathing filled the space. Leora turned to Evan, eyes full of emotion. "You saved my child again." "And again." Evan shook his head. "No, we did this together." She looked at him deeply. "Why did you not leave? Why risk your life?" Evan stared out the window, watching lightning fade in the distance. "Because I've seen enough death," he said quietly. "If saving one baby alien or human means changing even a small part of this war, then it's worth it." Leora felt something shift inside her. Respect, gratitude, and something more, something warm. Something human. The pod beeped softly, showing a nearby settlement. "My people live there," she said. "They will help us." Evan nodded. "Good. The baby needs medical care." But Leora hesitated. "They will see you as an enemy," she whispered. "They may attack you." Evan gave a tired smile. Then I'll leave after I know you're safe. Leora reached out and touched his hand gently. No, you come with me. They must hear the truth from both of us. Evan's eyes softened. He nodded. The pod descended slowly toward the settlement. As they landed, dozens of alien villagers gathered cautiously, weapons raised. Eyes full of suspicion, Leora stepped out first, holding her baby high. Gasps filled the air. Their lost child alive. Mothers cried. Elders whispered prayers. Soldiers lowered their weapons in shock. Then they saw the human behind her. A wave of anger rippled through the crowd, but Leora raised her hand. Stop! She commanded, voice ringing across the clearing. Everyone froze. This human saved my child, she declared proudly. He fought against the Rukari. He protected us. Without him, my baby would be dead. The crowd stared at Evan confused, stunned. An elder stepped forward slowly. Human, why did you help us? Evan looked at the many faces watching him. Because your child cried, he said softly. Because no baby deserves to die in a war created by adults. And because sometimes, doing the right thing matters more than choosing a side. Silence spread like calm water. Then, one by one, the aliens lowered their weapons. The elder nodded. Then you are not our enemy. Leora stood beside Evan, her baby sleeping safely in her arms. That day became a turning point. One story shared across two worlds. The story of a human who saved an alien baby, and in doing so, saved the hope of an entire civilization. Evan did not become a hero for war, he became a hero for peace. A hero for life, a true HFY legend.